Welcome back, everybody, to episode 125 of the Art of Business English. And today we're doing how to make small talk in person. Welcome back, Loic. How are you, buddy?
Good. I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm on the southern hemisphere and it's cold.
Ah, nice. I'm in the north and it's lovely. Lovely weather
Yeah.
here. Well, it's actually, no, actually, to be honest, it's been raining a lot. It's like this weird June rain. Anyway, that's a little bit of small talk we're doing there today, no? You and I?
We're doing that
Small
right
talk
now.
about the weather. Yeah, a bit of small talk about the weather. If you don't know what to talk about, you talk about the weather. But
There
yeah,
you
I'm
go.
good. I'm crazy busy, but good. So today we're going to be doing small talk. Last week we discussed small talk on the phone, which is a bit
Yeah.
more difficult. Well, it can be more difficult in some aspects because you don't have the person in front of you, but it can also be less difficult because you don't have the person in front of you, so you can like just quickly skip over the small talk and get down to the conversation. Whereas today we've got a big episode because we're going to be talking about small talk in person, which really can make some people feel quite uncomfortable. And we have divided the episode into a number of parts. We'll be looking at some tips to start with, just some general tips. Loic's going to explain some of his tips. Then I'm going to quickly give you an overview of using the present perfect tense in small talk and why it's useful. Then we're going to be looking at breaking the ice. So breaking the ice is like really starting a conversation like completely with someone you do not know and you've never met. It's just like completely frozen. So you need to like make that or take that first step to get the conversation moving. Then we'll look at like how you can actually start the small talk with someone once you've broken the ice, and then how you can maintain that conversation, and then listen for listening for keywords and things like that. We're also going to then move on to making small talk with colleagues or acquaintances, so people that you actually do know and you have met before. And finally, we'll wrap it up with how to leave the conversation, which can also be awkward or a little bit embarrassing for some people. They don't know how to leave, or they feel a bit uncomfortable saying goodbye. So those are the things we're going to cover today. So Loic, why don't you lead, buddy, with your tips? You've got a few tips for people.
Sure thing. I just want to clarify, we're talking about, it's basically a polite conversation about unimportant things. And that's quite a thing because we're talking about unimportant things, and yet without the small talk about them, it can be really, really awkward. Both of you might be sitting there unsure what to say next. So I think we covered this last week, but always do your research. It's not easy to do. It's easy to forget. And even if it's just a minute, spend a minute. So if I was to say, let's start off with a tip, let's start thinking about the person. Who are we talking to? What are they like? What do we know about them? Who do they know? Let's see if we could find some commonalities. Probably we won't, but it doesn't matter because that focuses our attention already. So that's the first tip for sure. The second one, open-ended questions. I think people enjoy talking about themselves, I mean, if you look at the culture of selfies over the last 5-6 years, that already tells you. And I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words or more. Yeah. But and basically, we're our favorite.
Now we got TikTok.
We are
TikToker.
Favorite subjects. That's us. So that's what we want to do. So we want to discuss ourselves. We want to tell people what we know about ourselves, and because we discover ourselves in that as well. So here's a tip. Put away your phone. We've all been there. We've all been in those situations. And we pull out our phones when we're not too sure what to do. The guy next to us, we've just greeted each other, and now you've got an awkward silence. And that's okay. The problem is we're now getting engrossed in our phones. And so that takes our attention away from a potential good small talk opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So be comfortable with yourself.
Completely agree. Be comfortable being alone with yourself, which is a massive problem nowadays. And, it's going to get worse. You see it like people, and especially like teenagers, they're just really like their conversations, even when they're interacting with their friends, they
Yes.
revolve around the phone. Like the phone is
Crazy, right?
plays a central role in that conversation. Look at this, check this out, look at this video, la la la. And it's like, guys, come on, like
Yeah.
and people do it. Like if they're waiting, like people, the first thing they do if they have to wait anywhere at the bus stop, for the metro, anywhere, it's just my phone. It will entertain me. The endorphins,
Yeah,
bing,
it
bing,
will.
bing. Yeah.
And it will.
Yeah. But in a social situation, get rid of it. For example, in my house, the rule is no phones at the table at lunchtime.
Yeah, that's a good rule.
Yep.
Yeah.
And preferably no phones when it is lunchtime. So put them on flight mode, and put them in another room, because just too easy to pick them up, and that takes your focus away from your children. Therefore, you're teaching them that, oh, look, it's okay to spend time with my phone when I should be actually enjoying time with my family.
And on that point, and I know we're digressing a little, but time is so important. Time is so precious. Time is something that we're all talking about every day. We're reminding ourselves, reminding each other of how little time there is. And then we'll sit at the table and surf Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So
the amount of time.
Let's talk about topics.
So just before we do move on, I've got a webinar, free, no need to register. It's on the homepage of the Art of Business English, and it's a webinar about how to be more productive, and it does discuss a lot about phone use and the role of notifications and your phone in the destruction of your productivity. So check it out. If you are interested, you can register over, you don't even need to register. You can view it over at the Art of Business English. There's a link to it on the homepage in the webinar section. But yeah, sorry, just thought I'd plug that webinar. Loic, what are some of the topics that you would suggest people discuss? I think I've got them here.
Yeah. So here is a cheat sheet. Here is a cheat sheet. Some of the most common small talk subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say is, well, first of all, sports or athletes, music, movies, and books. The weather.
The weather. It's the best.
Weather. Travel and tourism. And I would say then, you can switch to hobbies. You can food, and restaurants is also an option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know those are sort of, it's a long list, but together with technology, it kind of gives you an all-rounded sort of artillery that you can play with. You just pull them out and you use them.
Yep, completely agree. Those are easy and safe topics to go with. There's no religion there. There's no politics.
Well, there are some topics you want to stay away from, right?
Yeah.
Family is an interesting one, because if you do know the person, family can be not only a small talk, but it can be something which cements that relationship, which shows you really care.
Yeah.
However, if you don't know whether they've just been through a breakup, a divorce, or if they've just gotten engaged. It can be awkward. So religion, politics, family, relationships, money, jokes can be inadequate, in the wrong circumstances, and sarcasm.
Yeah.
I've had that before as well. You're totally sarcastic about something, or even cynicism for that matter. Mm-hmm. In the wrong context, it can be total downer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like to be sarcastic, and I think that Australian culture, it's really funny, like the way that we can generate a conversation. And I've just had some laughs with my friends through sarcasm. But you need to be careful, because some people don't get it, or some people, maybe you think you're being funny and through sarcasm, and you're coming off as a real idiot. And politics, it can be okay if it's like general world news type stuff, like, can you believe what the president of X country just did? And then wait for the person's response, because maybe they say, that was great, and you're like, oh, okay, I thought it was bad, so I'm going to say, oh yeah. So it depends on, really, you need to be careful. You don't just go in there with your opinion. But politics can be a risky one as well. But it depends if it's based on world events. But I I'm with you. I would start with the easy ones like sports, music, movies, weather,
Yes.
travel, tourism, hobbies, restaurants, etc.
Mm.
Okay. Anything else on any other tips before we move on?
No, I think we're all good. You know, everything in context. And I think you pointed out something very relevant. You go and look at the president. You say, "Hey, listen, can you believe the guy said that?" And then judge, listen actively, and pay attention to what the response is, because that'll tell you what to say next, and
Mm-hmm.
that moves the conversation forward, which is the point of small talk as well.
Yep, exactly. You're going to keep the conversation moving along without being a detective and interrogating someone. But yeah, all right. Let's move on and look at a bit of grammar as we did last week. So last week
Nice.
we discussed open and closed questions. So I'm just going to put up here for the people. We discussed open and closed questions, and this week I'm going to show you a bit about the present perfect. So present perfect is an interesting tense in English. We use it to like bring things from the past up into the present. And I already refer to it as like a tense for fishing into the past to bring information into the present. And it's done in such a way when we don't really know when that event happened. I mean, if we talk about when an event in the past specifically happened, then we would use the simple past. But with the present perfect, you can really create some exploratory questions that are quite broad and open. So just to show you, like the present perfect is, using the verb have or has, the auxiliary verb have or has with the subject and the past participle form of a verb. So we say the third column because you've got the infinitive, the simple past, and then the third column would be the past participle form of a verb. So if it's a regular verb, it's super simple. It's like want is, want in Spanish is querer, and in the past it's, in English it's wanted. So in the past participle, it's also wanted. So you're just adding ed. If it's an irregular verb, like write, escribir in Spanish, then it's wrote in the simple past, but it's written in the past participle form. So you need to memorize the irregular verbs, but the regular verbs are easy. They're the same in the simple past as they are in the past participle form. So we use the verb haber, or have or has, haber in Spanish. We use the subject, and we're using the past participle form to create this structure. Now, obviously, because it's a question in English, the haber or the have or has will go first. In affirmative, it would be the subject, then have or has. Whereas in a question, it's have or has, then the subject, then the past participle form. So an example here is, have you been to this hotel before? Now, because we're using an auxiliary, have or has. Now, of course, has would be for he, she, or it. But because we're using the auxiliary here, we're actually creating, in this case, in this example, a closed question, which we discussed last week. So it's, have you been to this hotel before? Yes, I have, or no, I haven't. So again, closed questions don't really lead to much conversation. But another example is, have you worked for this company long? Yes, I have, or no, I haven't. So to make present perfect exploratory questions more powerful, we would use interrogative pronouns, which we did discuss last week, to transform the present perfect questions into open present perfect form questions. So we would say, how long have you worked in this role? So now it's an open question. So you have to answer it with the time frame. So I have worked, for a year or two, or whatever the time may be. So by using how long, when, where, how. Another one is, what have you planned for the summer holidays? So again, what and have you planned? Again, we're looking back into the past. We don't know if the person has made a plan. We don't know when they made a plan, but we're investigating or inquiring about something that may or may not have happened in the past. So we're using the present perfect. And you could say, what are you doing for your summer holidays? Which would not be present perfect, but maybe the person's doing nothing. So what have you planned for the summer holidays is like quite broad, and it's a more advanced structure to use to bring this information from the past into the present. So that's really what I would suggest. It's a tense that I would suggest you use when you are planning on, asking people questions in a small talk situation. So that's the grammar aspect of things. Would you like to add anything, Loic, on that?
Your technical proficiency, it's always an education. I love it. I love it.
Great.
And, I had to internally, not out loud, I had to silently laugh when you were talking about nothing, because as I thought about it, what have you planned for the summer holidays? Nothing. Then what do you say?
Yeah, then what do you say? Nothing. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point of emotional intelligence, isn't it? To be able to pick up on that. And I think that probably comes to some people naturally. To the rest of us, probably we could develop some techniques, which is not for this particular episode, I think. Yeah. But some way of picking up on that and running with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would run with that. Like if someone said, like, so what have you planned for the summer holidays? Well, nothing because of COVID. Oh, okay. Did you have a plan? Boom. Did you have a plan before COVID? Like, I don't know. Like you just be quick on your feet. Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. Did you have a plan? Like, oh, that's a shame. So then you're showing empathy. That's a shame.
Yeah.
What did you have planned before? Did you cancel anything? And then maybe they said, yeah, I had a trip to Italy booked. It was going to be amazing. You're like, oh, exactly. Yeah, that's terrible. Again, emotional intelligence plays a massive role in small talk. So, all right, we've got some tips done. We've got the grammar down. Let's talk about breaking the ice, which can be very difficult for a lot of people. Okay, so we've got the tips done. We've got the grammar down. Let's take a look at breaking the ice, which can be very difficult for some people. People, even native speakers of any language,
totally.
In any situation, they're terrified of like talking to someone I don't know. How could I possibly do that? Yeah, and it's not as bad as people think. Yeah, it's not that bad. I think people are just very self-conscious. And they're like, what if the person doesn't want to talk to me? Well, don't talk to them. Go and talk to someone else. Just move on. Okay, all right. So situations where you might need to break the ice would be at a trade fair, a conference, a business event. It could be at, if you work for a large organization, at the Christmas party. Could be in situations where, a guest or potential customers in your company and you're just suddenly, put together with them and you're like, oh, hi, I wasn't expecting this. So there are many situations where you need to break the ice. And the way you can do it is just through like the quick one-liners, we call them now. Do you have any tips on one-liners?
Yeah, so I would say, and let's literally think about some of these examples.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna put up the slide for you because I think you've got a few ideas. These are
I do.
Yeah, model answers for you. Loic, let's look at some expressions we can use when we are required to break the ice with people.
All right. Let me give you some examples. All right. First one, obvious one. Is anyone sitting here? Do you mind if I sit here? And your answer is probably going to be, no, go ahead. Take a seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, easy, no? Like, go ahead, take a seat. Or it could be, sorry, it's taken. And then it's like, oh, all right, I'll go somewhere else.
Well, that's when you point to another part and you say, well, So, okay, how about the weather? It's hot in here. Similar to the weather.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Would you like me to open the window?
Yeah, and you'll notice here that you've used the tag at the end, isn't it? Yeah, it's hot in here, isn't it? Remember, isn't it is a tag question. We did mention it last week. It's a negative tag gets a positive response, and it makes it easy for the person to respond.
Yes.
What else, buddy?
Well, have you been waiting for a long time? And that basically prompts a response. So in this case, maybe 10 minutes, the bus should be here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or they could say yes. Yes.
Yeah, or you can say yes. And then you might say, well, do you know anyone here? No, this is my first class. But
so those are some quick one-liners.
It's breaking ice. It's essentially saying, okay, now I've said something and you've said something. which allows us to then say the next thing, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I really think that just breaking the ice can really be anything as long as it's contextually correct. It doesn't really matter.
Yes.
Just like, oh hi,
Yeah, it doesn't
is
matter.
this seat taken? Or, oof, it's hot here. Just one little expression. I mean, I think what people fail to appreciate is that, you know, they think that, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so shy. But everyone else is sort of the same. They're like, you know, standing there uncomfortably holding their drink. You know, I mean, everyone's in the same situation, and people are in many situations, people are, you know, really desperately hoping that someone will talk to them and they won't be like just standing there alone as well, or
Crazy,
sitting there
right?
alone as well. So, you know, it's you need to appreciate that people are in the same boat, and there's no need to feel so self-conscious because many people are probably feeling the same way as you. All right, buddy. So those are some quick one-liners. Let's talk about now. Before we started today, you were mentioning like frameworks or ways to model or chuck, you know, have a set structure to make it really simple for people then to like change, take in a topic and take a topic out. So I think we'll look at that now. Did you want to go into a bit of detail about making small talk with someone that you've only just met?
With only someone you've just met, yeah. So the idea, okay, so you've just met. You find yourself in a meeting room. You find yourself with some guests. Your boss is late. Now you're the one stuck entertaining. So you've got these guests, and you've got to make them feel welcome somehow. And you're the face of the company. So you've got to make sure everyone is comfortable. And it's a situation where small talk actually is quite critical. It's quite critical. Again, do your research or thinking beforehand definitely helps a lot. Secondly, the no phone rule, you know, definitely keep that thing away. You definitely want to engage and use your emotional intelligence. So I'll tell you what, let me give you 8 openers. Okay. So here's guidance on 8 openers.
Let me put them up for the audience. All right, what have you got for us?
Okay, so here's some of the phrases that you can begin to use in order to keep the conversation going. For example, and I'm going to say something, do you like questions. So you could say, do you like the event so far? Now, obviously it could prompt a yes or no, but most likely they would feel uncomfortable themselves saying yes or no. So they'll give you a proper answer.
Yeah,
and then you might say something.
Yeah, it's good. It's been positive, or it's been really interesting.
Exactly, real interesting. And then you might say, well, now you come up with something that's, I guess, interesting, since you organized it maybe, or you were part of the organization. You might turn around and say, you won't believe what happened this afternoon. And then you tell them a little something of what happened that afternoon, perhaps. Or just a little something to keep it going.
Or another thing I like to do is like I'd use the key word, you found it interesting. I said, oh, really? What was the most interesting part for you? Boom. Yeah. Exactly. And that way you're getting a bit of feedback as well. Correct. All right. What's another one you could use?
All right. So do you like as the first? Have you seen or heard? Have you seen or heard? So here you basically, I don't know, you'd pick up on something that's going on. If it's this company, have you seen or heard the latest product that we introduced last week?
Yeah,
for example.
Perfect.
And of course, again, it's yes or no, but at the end of the day, you're trying to move on to the next level so that you can introduce your third portion, which is, it's brand new. We were in development for 3 years before launching it. And then the other person should be probably surprised about what you've just said. But again, it's to keep the conversation going. So we look at a third one. What did you think of? Now that's a very good one, because you could say, what did you think of tonight's performance? Let's assume there was a cello being played, or let's assume that the canapes were particularly amazing. What did you think of the food we served here tonight? You know, and again, what basically means they cannot say yes or no. I really enjoyed. So now you're maybe paying a compliment to them. Maybe it's something about the event. Or it could be something unrelated. I really enjoyed the presentation that Steve Jobs gave this afternoon. You know, something like that. Yeah, so it's things that you really enjoyed, which are quite neutral, very positive as well.
Yeah, always
and
try and be positive.
Speaking of which, I've heard good things about John. when he delivers a presentation, it always gets everybody going.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably you'll get some sort of an agreement,
Mm-hmm.
from the other person. Let's look at another one. Let's talk about location. Have you ever been to? So now let's say you're in a foreign location. Let's say you're in a particular resort where this is going down. And you might say, well, have you ever been to Spain?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's their first time and the event is taking place in Spain. So they might say, no, this is my first time. So again, you're prompting something to happen next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought that the food here tonight was really good.
Mm.
So now I thought that was,
Mm-hmm.
for example, can you think of an example there where I thought that was?
Yeah, I thought the talk by that industry leader was very insightful.
Uh-huh.
And you're making a statement, but it's definitely going to prompt some input from the other person. Or you could follow it up with
very impolite for them to say nothing.
Yeah. You say, I really thought that the talk given by Dr. Smith was incredibly insightful. Did you see that talk, or did you get a chance to see that talk? You could follow it up with a mini question at the end.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah.
So that's good. What about the next one? Who was or what was your favorite? And then the thing.
Yeah.
Easy, no?
So you basically throw anything into that. What was your favorite part of the talk? What was your favorite drink tonight? Did you taste? And you see that the point is you can follow it up. So now you've said who or what is your favorite? What is your favorite ice cream?
Yeah.
It could be that kind of an event where they're serving ice cream and the guy might reply to you, oh, pistachio.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, sure, that happens to be the same.
Yeah.
Or maybe you say, I like chocolate chips. So you're moving the conversation forward because they will give you an answer, and most likely it's an answer that requires you to be one level up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it could be anything like wine. If you're doing wine tasting, wine maridacha with the meal, like, oh, what was your favorite wine pairing today? Oh, I love this one. Yeah. Oh, me too. Do you know where we can buy that? Or yeah, I mean, there's just so many ways. Once you've broken the ice, there's so many ways just to keep that conversation going. And I love what you've done here with these, because literally you're giving the audience, our listeners, like just very simple structures that they can work with, that they can drop they can just drop different topics in and out of these. And this is, I mean, really, how many have we got? 2, 4, 6. I mean, there's like 10 expressions here that you can use, and they would pretty much serve you well for most of an evening of generating conversation.
Absolutely. And the point of the structure, I wouldn't go as far as calling it a model, but I would say the point of the structure is if you say something like, I really enjoyed. And the point of it is that if you have nothing to say, just start off with, I really enjoyed, and it will probably come to you. And you'll basically launch into it and say, the pizza here was amazing. I really enjoyed, or I really enjoyed your company. But now that's heading towards another part of it, which I'm sure we're going to get to a little later, which has to do with closing, which is also very awkward, but we'll get to that as well.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the end. So I've got I'm going to give you an example of how this will sort of work. I'm going to give you a model answer here of how this will work in practice. So just kind of just put this up here for the audience. So you could say something like, so is this your first time in Barcelona, or your first time visiting Barcelona? Or you could say, what's your industry like right now? I mean, that's a good question, especially now with like COVID. Yeah, with COVID, people are like, oof, yeah, or it's good for them. Yeah, this one's a good one because it helps you get a feel for what's happening in the marketplace. You're gonna say, so as an expert in whatever field the person is, and as an expert in biomedicine, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the potential for a COVID-19 vaccine in the near future. So you can put in whatever it is. This is a simple one. So how was your flight over here? It's always an easy one to ask people about their flight.
Yes.
And then, so where are you staying? I like this question. It's not like you're being invasive. This is just to then lead on to talk about, oh, that's a wonderful hotel. Oh, it's near. Now, do you know what's near the hotel? And then you can really like give them some tips on things to visit. So how many days are you in town for? This one's a great one as well, especially if you've got guests at your company. who are, maybe they're coming in for a deal or, for a meeting to discuss a potential deal. Generally, people might be hanging around for an extra day to do a bit of sightseeing, especially if it's the first time they've been in Spain or in Barcelona or wherever it is that the meeting's taking place. And, once you've established how many days they're in town for, then you can give them recommendations based on what might they like to do in their free time. So you could say, can I offer you some recommendations on places to eat? People really appreciate that. And, then you can say, like, so what's your budget? Or you can just say, look, this place is amazing, but it's quite expensive. And this place is really good and it's good value. So, without actually asking people their budget, because maybe some people are a bit like sensitive talking about money.
Yeah.
So you can just say, this one's amazing, but it's expensive. So you're warning them straight away. Whereas the other one is more value for money. Another one you could say is, are you interested in football? I'm sure I could arrange tickets to see Barca if you are interested, or if you would be interested. That's great if you're entertaining people. Because when you're trying to do deals with people, you can make them feel, special by taking them. You're actually like looking after them. You're taking them around. You're showing them around. You're showing that you want to spend some time with them, or you're making sure that they are, looked after while they're on a trip that was essentially to see you. So I would definitely go with something like that. What else you can do is, for maintaining a conversation, you can ask some follow-up questions. So what you can do is you can also ask follow-up questions. So I'm just going to model that for you as well, guys. 1 second. Let me just model that for you now. This is an example of how this might work. So the scenario really is that you've got someone in your organization, you haven't met them before. They've come to do a deal or to arrange business in your company. You're the face of the company. You're with that person, and you need to make small talk because maybe your colleagues or your boss hasn't arrived. So a model answer or a model scenario could look something like this. So is this your first time in Barcelona? And if they say, yes, it is, you can say, oh, it is. Meaning it's a question. You're using the intonation in your voice, but it's not really a question structure. That is great. So I would love to show you around if you have time. How many days are you in town for? And then they might say something like, I don't know, 2 or 3. I'm staying for the weekend. So perfect. Why don't I arrange some Barca tickets for the match on Saturday? Then I can show you a wonderful place to grab a meal. So, you're being polite, and they're probably maybe not even expecting that. And, the fact that they can get tickets to Barca, many people really look forward to that. And then you could say something like, okay, how about I pick you up on Saturday at 6? That's why it's interesting to know where they're staying. And, that's done. You've just, made the person feel welcome. You've initiated a conversation and you've kept the conversation going. And then you have arranged to meet them. I'm not saying that small talk should always lead to, meeting or a next meeting or relationship. But that is one of the benefits of small talk. It can actually lead on to effective relationship building, which we mentioned before. And that's really essential in business. I mean, that's what business is all about, building and maintaining strong relationships with people, especially when you're going to be working with them closely. So anything else for you, Loic, that you'd add?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are probably some other questions that you can ask to maintain a conversation. For example, a simple one. Let's assume that somebody flew in. They flew in on Sunday because the conference starts on Monday. Did you have a good weekend?
Yep.
Simple.
Yeah.
Or what did you do last night? Again, think about the situation. Think about who you're talking to. Think of the country. Think of the culture. They may not want to tell you what they did last night. But in most cases, if you're conscious of it, you'll be fine. How has your week been? How has your week been? So now you're coming to a situation where it's been 2-3 days into it. You can legitimately ask that. How has your week been? Yeah. What did you think of the hotel?
Yeah.
Because these are guests of yours. You've looked after them. You've placed them in a location. What did you think of the hotel?
Yeah.
How are you finding the company so far? Basically, that tells you a little bit more where they cannot they cannot just say yes. They cannot say no. They cannot give you a time. I mean, this is a question where they have to tell you some quality information that you
Yeah.
can work with. And you said something very relevant earlier, which is finding out a little bit more about what's going on. This is also key. You want to build the relationship, you want to maintain the relationship, and you want to extract information either for yourself or for your company. And these are perfect ways to get that out.
Yeah, it's a great idiom to have your finger on the pulse, no?
Exactly.
Yeah, if you've got your finger on the pulse, you know exactly what's going on. Yeah, this is really you're an effective networker, an effective relationship builder if you can make small talk and then really continue through generating discussion, like you said, and being sensitive and aware of where the person's at, being attentive. So, you're going to have to make small talk once if you've got them here on a conference or you've got them here visiting your company because they're maybe interested in buying it or something, you want, and they're going to be spending a week because they're doing due diligence or whatever.
Yeah.
You need to really be following up with them and making this small talk as you go along as the week progresses. So yeah, I like what you said about that. It's really important to think about where they are in relation to the time of the event. So if it's a weekend, you can ask about weekend, but if it's during the week, you can ask about how their week's going, how the due diligence is going. And all these little things are like what you mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Just that little 5 minute of planning and thinking makes a huge difference. So that's great. That's powerful stuff. All right, let's look then at the next part of the episode, which is looking at making small talk with a colleague or an acquaintance. So, you've already met the person. That can be a bit easier. But again, my advice is, you need to do this small talk gracefully, and you need to actually be genuine about it. There's someone that don't just make small talk because that's what I'm supposed to do. You should do it in such a way that you're engaging them and you're actually, you're demonstrating empathy towards them and an actual genuine interest in them and their lives. So let me just throw out some expressions now, and then you can add some thoughts as well, Loic. All right, so let's dive in and look at some, some small talk with a colleague or an acquaintance. You could say something like, "How's life treating you?" A very open question. And again,
yes, it is.
Generally, the person's going to say, "Yeah, really good," or "Pretty good," or "I'm so tired. I'm so busy. It's been a terrible week." "Oh God, that's terrible. What happened?" So, it depends. You could get a varying degree of, generally people are quite positive. "How's things been with you lately?" That's very open as well. Things could be anything really. So it's just a generally open question. How's the wife, husband, and kids? Again, we mentioned this, and Loic, you did mention this earlier. Family, as you said, can be, it's good if you know the person, if you know that they're married and they've got a nice relationship, then you can, this is a genuine interest. How are the kids going? Are they at university yet? I heard that your son or your daughter has applied for X university. Did they get in? So you're remembering a detail. Or you might have heard that they're that they are breaking up and they are going through a divorce, and you can say, "Oh, how's things with the wife? I heard not very good. I hope you're okay." So again, you're showing this emotional intelligence towards them, and you've done your planning ahead. How's that project you've been working on going? Again, you've thought about it. They're working on a project, so you're putting in that. You've put in the effort to have a think about it. What's news with you? Really open question. This would be probably for someone you haven't seen for a while, so you're just checking in. What's news with you? And again, this is great to get a feel about what's happening in the world or in business. What's been going on with you? Very similar. What's been going on with you? Okay, so what have you been up to as of late? Now, to be up to means doing. What have you been doing as of late? So this is a very colloquial expression. What have you been up to as of late? And again, we're using present perfect here to ask this one. So, Loic, any thoughts on that or those that you'd like to add?
So I think, I'll tell you what. I think that although we might say that it's easier to have small talk with someone we know,
Mm-hmm.
The point of it is, as we were saying earlier, that building, step one, maintaining relationships is equally important. I mean, that's the reason we built the relationship in the first part. So we built the relationship, now we want to keep it going. And so you want to listen for detail, you want to respond in detail with relevant information, with relevant questioning, obviously not interrogating them, but on the other hand, you also do want to take a genuine interest in what they're saying. So instead of following a rigorous question one after the other without proper consideration for what they've just said, just take it easy, one step at a time, get into it, and listen for the key words. Listen for the key words, and you generate your next question from there.
Yeah.
Let's do an example, shall we?
Yeah, let's dive in, because I love this. This is it's one of the techniques I teach my students all the time. It's really important to listen for keywords. You need to be really like actively listening. So let's have a look then. Right. So maintain the conversation with follow-up questions. So how's life treating you?
Not bad. I've just started a new position in the company.
Okay. So what would be the key word in here, Loic?
Well, me, I would say position.
Yeah. Position. New
yeah.
position, definitely. So then the follow-up question would be, wow, that's great. What position have you taken on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
So by listening, I think we can easily keep that conversation going and show them that you're interested, show them that you're literally listening out for what they're saying, you're responding accordingly, and it offers you an opportunity to respond to that, basically.
Exactly. And you're not just thinking about what you're going to say next. Like, oh, okay, I need to say something next. Like, I better tell them something so I don't have to be embarrassed. No, definitely need to listen for keywords. And yeah, it's not that difficult a task if you are actually genuinely listening to someone.
Yes.
But it's amazing how often people fail to listen effectively. I've spoken about this a lot in many previous episodes of The Art of Business English. People are terrible at listening. And if you are an effective listener, you'll be a great conversationalist.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Let's wrap things up then. Let's bring this episode to a close. I'd like you to outline to people like how they can leave a conversation, which can be also quite make people feel a bit uncomfortable.
Maybe we'll do an episode in the future about just that. But I'll tell you something. I've had, and I'm sure you've had some situations where the conversation, I don't know when it gets to that stage, but there seems to be a fine line that gets drawn, and when you cross it, now it becomes awkward. There's been questions, there have been answers, and now it's been a bit much. So you need to exit that conversation.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes people think like, well, I'm making small talk with this person, but like you don't need to spend the whole evening just talking to one person. Maybe, you don't really, there's no connection there. You're talking to someone.
Exactly.
It's their hard work. Like, you're trying to talk to them and they are just not giving or holding up their end of the bargain. They're like, just like, boo. Or the topic, like you're just not having a good conversation with them. You know, it's okay to leave. Just because you start talking to someone doesn't mean you have to spend the rest of your life with them. It's not like you're married to them. So, I really think it's important that people are aware of that. Again, emotional intelligence, you don't know who you're going to meet at events. You don't know what possibilities could come of a meeting. You don't know what opportunities may arise from this relationship. So, if you're not connecting with someone, don't be rude, but go and find someone else to talk to, and be confident enough to know when it's time to leave and when it's time to go find someone else to talk to. Because sometimes you leave one conversation, which is a bit of a struggle, and then you jump into another conversation, and it's amazing. You're like, I had a really wonderful connection. And then when you reflect the next day on that evening or that lunch or whatever, you're like, I really had a good time because of that person I spoke to. And then you can follow up with them later. So how can we leave? Just some quick tips on how to leave, Loic.
All right. So how about you get to that part where you don't know what to say, then say this. Okay, I can't wait to hear how something. takes
I
place.
can't wait.
So
Okay, let me just put this up for the people. So I can't
yeah,
wait to hear
wait to
how.
hear how. Oh, well, there we go. So
Yeah,
an
yeah,
initiative, project, a personal decision, something that is going to happen. So let's catch up at the next, I don't know, the next meeting, the next event, the next party, the next seminar. Let's get
hmm
together at the next seminar. Essentially, what you're saying is, we are done. I'll
yeah,
see you at the next one. But it's very polite.
yeah. You could even modify that to say, I can't wait to hear how this project initiative is going. I hope I see you at the next seminar, or I hope I see
Yeah,
you at the next conference. Meaning,
exactly.
I don't, if you change it from let's catch up, it could lead to, all right, what's your phone number? Or let's exchange emails,
Yeah, good
which
point.
could be good. No, which it might be,
Even better.
yeah, which might be something they want to do. Or if you say, I hope we catch up at the next conference, that might express to the person that I'm not really that interested in exchanging information. It's a possibility, and I hope to see you there.
Yeah. And most likely they'll say, me too. And when they say me too, you simply say, enjoy the rest of the evening, or enjoy the rest of the conference, or, that's it. You're out.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks. I'll take care. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one which is kind of obvious, I see my friend over there. I should probably go and say hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, you do want to show an interest. Maybe you want to say something like, would you like to exchange contact information?
Yeah.
Or let's stay in touch. This is my card. You kind of want to let them know, okay, I'm not just trying to make up an excuse, but literally I'm going to say, I've got to get over there. So this conversation is coming to a close, but it's not over. So don't feel, that I'm running away.
You can do
soften the blow.
A variation too. You can say like, oh my God, there's Jill. I've really got to go speak to her. 1 second. Are we back in a minute? Before she leaves, the last time I saw her, she left, and I couldn't find her again. So I need to see her.
Yeah.
But I'll be back in a second, and then you just leave, and then you either are back in a second, or you don't make your way back to that conversation. So sometimes, if you're, you can be abrupt. It depends on your personality. For example, my personality is very bubbly and boom. So like often I'm like what we say, a social butterfly. So I'm flittering around, talking to lots of people at an event. So people can see that. They can see, oh, he's moving here, he's moving there. And so it depends on your character as well. Yeah. So again, I mean, it's a bit of practice and depends on the type of person you are. What about another one?
So let's say, I'm really glad that we had the chance to connect over, I don't know, the release of the new phone. I don't want to dominate your whatever, whether it's morning, night, I don't want to dominate the rest of your day. And I'm going to check out the canapes. I'm going to check out what they're serving over there for dessert. I'm going to just quickly take a walk around the venue. These are all opportunities for you to, and also for you to come back, because it gives you an opportunity to leave, evaluate the conversation you've just had, and you may very well want to come back. So it does leave the door open. You're going to check out the venue and you can come back.
Yeah, completely. And then there's the classic ones like, I'm going to get a drink. Would you like anything? Or I'm going to go and see what John's up to. So I'll have a chat to you later. It's been great. Bye. There are, sometimes it's just better to be short and sweet and look for that opportunity. And again, that comes down to your emotional intelligence. Yeah. So I reckon that's about it. No, what have we got? That brings us to the end of the episode, doesn't it? Have you got any?
I think so.
Final thoughts, my friend, for those who are with us here?
Yeah. So I would say it's not really a closed case. It's not really a exhaustive list that we've taken you through. But the point of it is that mastering small talk is it's a great skill to add to the rest of your business communication, because it can lead to new relationships, new areas to explore, basically.
And you can meet
because that's the reason you're learning English, isn't it? It's not only for the language, it's how you're going to use it.
Exactly.
So
I think what you said is very important.
Vocab.
Yeah, I think it's very important. What you just said, like, people want to learn English, but then they're terrified to use it. It's like, come on, just get in there. Every single opportunity that you have to use your English should be taken, because that's an opportunity to improve. This concept of like, I'm learning English, but my English is bad, so I'm not going to talk. It's like, well, you're not going to improve. You're not going to get better. And you you could, like we said, that you can get some great relationships. You can meet some really interesting people through starting with small talk and socializing and
Yeah.
not being shy, just getting in there. So it's important to do, and don't get disheartened if it doesn't work out the first time. Just go and talk to someone else. There's lots of people in the world. There's too many people in the world. There's just too many people in the world. We need to get rid of some. Yeah, coronavirus.
Lots to talk to.
Yeah. So, guys, before we go, just wanted to let you know, of course, we've got the social English course, which we've got. So, socializing English course, which we've got over at the Art of Business English. It is really a short course packed full of all the most relevant information and skills that you need. It's much more extensive than what we've discussed today, but yeah, it's based on a lot of the tips that we've got here in this episode today. So if you do want to really expand on your knowledge of how to be good at starting conversations, maintaining conversations, and bringing conversations effectively to a close, then you should check out the course. You can enroll with a 50% discount using the discount code MAKESMALLTALK. All of the details are over at the Art of Business English. So just check out this blog post. It's blog post 125. You can enroll there. You apply the discount code at the checkout, and you'll get this amazing course for 50% off. And next week, I think we're going to have one more episode in store for you on this little 3-part mini-series. But if you do have any questions, you can drop them into the comment section over at the blog. You can comment over at YouTube under the comment section under the YouTube video. You can email me. You can drop me a Facebook on our Facebook page, or you can drop me a message over at Instagram. You can connect with us in many ways. So it's been a pleasure, Loic. As always, very insightful. Would you like to say anything before we head off?
No, I'm good. I think I'm kind of looking forward to the episode where we're going to talk about how awkward it is for native and non-native speakers, because then I think your listeners will realize it's not that bad. It can happen to anybody, and so they're no better than we are. So we should just talk, right? That's why we're learning this language.
Exactly. Just improve those communication skills, because that's one skill set in life that will serve you well forever. And it's something that that's well worth the investment. Okay, well then, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you found this episode useful and very insightful. And we'll see you all next week on the Art of Business English. Take care. Bye for now.
Take care now. Bye-bye.